Hello, I'm Corey. Welcome to episode 18 of Flips, Flaps, and Folds. This is a revisit of yesterday's project, and this is what we will be making today. It is a double flip, and it's simple, but it's something that's super handy. Now, I put it in here with Velcro dots, which reminds me to talk to you about Velcro, simply because I wanted to be able to take it in and out. But the idea is super simple. You can tuck it in, you can put it in a pocket. It's just a little fold-over notebook with some places to journal, a pocket in the back, a little tuck spot in the front, and then a matchbook flip, matchbook cover? Yeah, matchbook cover flip with some more places to journal. And on that note, I have, as I've gone through here, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I really like pages that are decorative. I like having my journaling not hidden so much, but not front and center. And all of these pieces, the pages I like the most, have a lot of journaling spaces, like these cards and this little booklet. There's a ton of place to write, but it's mostly something that's hidden. And I found that even when I make pages just for an idea book like this, if I use paper that I don't care for, like this one, I love the trifold. I love the pages that are inside. I like the notebook. There's plenty of places to write, but I don't really care for this paper, and I don't find that it's not a good flow with this journal. So it makes me not like this particular page, which is crazy because I like the pocket. Which, again, leads me to say that even when you're making something as a sample, make something that you like. Use the paper that you like. Use the products that you like. Use the things that make you happy. Life is short. There's plenty that doesn't make us happy, and we should use the things that, in our hobbies and in our crafts, we should use the things that we like doing. This is the mostly completed piece from yesterday's fold over. That was the day before, excuse me. I just added a little bit of a Velcro closure to keep it down. And this is I added on this one. I wanted to tie these pages together a little bit because I like the look. So I used Tracy Fox Love Junk Journal's Oddments paper. That was one of the few digitals I've downloaded and printed. I purchased it because I like the way it looks with this particular line. The colors kind of flow. And then that's the back of that side, the one we did yesterday. So here is what we'll be making today. And I'm going to go way outside of my comfort zone, and I'm going to sew on camera, and I'm going to iron, because I want to offer you another option. When I did the, which one was it? We used, on this one, the day before this previous video, we used washi to close this. And a couple people mentioned that they don't have washi. They didn't want to go out and buy anything. And so I had mentioned you can use paper, you can use fabric, you can use ribbon. Most of us have copious amounts of ribbon, and this was my sample. I used some Heat and Bond and ribbon to iron it in place, and then I'll go in with my sewing machine and sew it. So it'll be nice and sturdy, and you'll still get that flat fold that you don't normally get with cardstock. So this is what we're going to try today. In theory, it should work. So if you don't have washi, or you want to use something else, you can use ribbon. You can use, a little bit of sari silk, or just try not to use something 100% acrylic, because I don't know how well it'll adhere. I haven't tried it, so I don't know how well it'll adhere. You absolutely can use your washi for this. I am just going to try it with ribbon today to try something different and give people other options. These were all scraps. Well, not this one. This one was I pulled from my idea box that I'd wanted to include, but the one we're making today is all from scraps. And I didn't have any scraps in my scrap bin big enough, so what I did was I sewed a couple pieces together. I had this one piece, which is what made me think of the idea or go with it. And then I grabbed a couple of other scraps and I just sewed them together because I had them and I knew I could make the right size. And this is what I'm going to be using for that front section. And all this is the cardstock that I wasn't going to use because it didn't match this at all. Certainly I could save it for another project, but I just folded it over and glued it to make that piece. So you are going to need, this is 5 by 6, but you can use any size. You can make this a little bigger, a little smaller. 2 sheets of 6 by 6 would be great. So 2 sheets of 6 by 6, and I want this to be my cover. So I want my ribbon closure to lay like this. All right, so I am going to, and this is going to be my back because this will be the inside. Once I've got that closure on, I'll glue in my pocket. Oh, I might have to round that corner. Glue in my pocket, and I'll glue in my tuck spot on the inside, and then we'll put this on top. So for the sake of not confusing myself or you, this is where I want the ribbon to show. So I need that over here, and this is where the ribbon will be on the back. In order to do that, this is my personal choice. Sorry, I'm going to sit down now. And am I in frame? I'm going to try to go in just a little closer so you can see what I'm doing. I'll move this up, and there we go. We'll try that. I'll use my purple tape, and I'll hold the page bases in place. And a lot of times, well, I wanted that up there so you can see it. I'll use the guides on my table to make sure that I'm straight or mostly straight. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but I'll like it a lot better if it's mostly straight. I want a gap in there, but I don't want a huge gap, even though the ribbon is kind of wide. I definitely want a gap. Okay, purple tape in place. Then I tear off a section of this Heat and Bond. And again, it's just a roll of Heat and Bond, I don't know, iron-on adhesive, okay? And I want it about the same length. And I don't want it to go over because then extra will stick where I don't want it to stick. And I'm going to lay it right in the middle of these two. All right. And I'm going to take my section of ribbon. Oh, shoot, I didn't get that crinkle out. This is something I do because I don't like to use an iron all the time. I have a yard sale hair straightener, and I keep it in my scrapbook area or my craft area because I use it to straighten ribbon and sari silk all the time. I just come in, and I don't even know if you can see that because I will, yeah, there we go. And I use that as my straightener. Now, I would normally use it for this. Whoops, sorry, I'm banging the camera. But I want to iron it flat on here so that I know it's straight. So I actually plugged in a regular old iron. I am going to lay this down. Now you could glue this, and I even thought about putting a little bit of glue to hold it in place, but this is kind of tacky. I mean, not really super tacky, but a little bit nubbly tacky. So I believe if I do it like this, it will stay where I want it to. And because I am me, oh look, see, I almost goofed. You can see that it would not go off the end there. I am going to tape it in place with my beloved purple tape until I've ironed it on there, and I'm sure it's going to stay put. And I used this seam as my center, this hashtag line or hashed line. So I know I've got it mostly centered. And I'll put that down there. And I'm glad I looked because the adhesive, see, this is why I don't normally do this kind of stuff on camera because it gets fiddly. All right. In hindsight, I might put a little bit of glue down to hold that adhesive in place, but we're just going to go for it. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if the darn thing works. I'm reaching way across, sorry, to grab my iron. And I don't know what the ironing rules are. It's not very much, 10 seconds, something like that. I'm doing this just to hold it in place and hold it down until I sew it. Because I did bring in my sewing machine. And it's looking like it's holding it in place. Let's see, the moment of truth will be when we lift this all up. All right, it stayed put. There we go. See? Look. Hoorah. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to flip it over. I don't suppose you have to do this if you're going to sew here, but I have a long enough section. So I am. And you know what I said? I didn't do it last time, but I am going to do it this time. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of glue to hold that in place. Now, in theory, this little piece of foam is on here to hold my pin because I don't want to lose it on my desk, but I drop it all the time. All right, now I'm going to lay this right there in the center. And like I said, the theory is it'll hold it in place. So if I move the ribbon, I don't move the adhesive. The adhesive will stay. And I'm going to pull this down. Oh, good. I'm glad it was long enough. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to iron that down. Now, as you can probably guess, my book is going to be bulky. This is a thicker, bulkier ribbon. I would probably choose something a little slimmer, but I had this and it matched, and oh my goodness, look how cool that turned out. Hoorah! That turned out really good. It's nice and flat, and it stays nice and flat. It's only wonky right now because of the iron, the heat from the iron. Messed that up. Excellent. So I'm going to come in and cut, sorry, I moved it out of the frame. Cut this extra bit off. Maybe. It's thick. Okay. Oh, I like the way that turned out. Alrighty then. Now I need to put in my pages on the inside. Okay, that's not straight. That will make me, I'm not a happy person. There we go. That's better. Now I've got this, and I'm going to put in my pockets, I think, before I put in, I needed to round this corner. Yeah, I'm going to put my pockets down before I sew the pages in, just to make sure that it's in and it's tight. And I probably can zoom out now because that's, there we go. I will, is that the corner? Yeah, that's the corner I want to round, and that's the right size. I'll come in later and ink that edge up. And see, now I could have put it underneath this, but I guess that doesn't really matter. You know what? Maybe I will sew this on. I'll put this on afterwards, after I put, because all we're doing with the tuck and the pocket is we're just gluing them in place, and you guys don't need to see that. So I'm going to glue this here, and I'm going to glue this here. Theoretically, I guess I could have put it on before I put on this, but I'm just wondering if it would have held both pieces together or not. And it looks like I might need to trim this down a tiny smidge. So put these two on the inside for the inside pockets. And then I've got my pages. I pre-folded them and pre-cut them and had them fit just right. And I will tuck them in my book, make sure they fit. And it looks like I'm going to need to round those corners too, because I rounded the corners of my book, but I did not round the corners of the pages. So I will do that now. Where it's lined up. Will it cut 8 pages? Let's find out. Oh yeah, no problem. And that corner's not perfectly round, so maybe I didn't have it pushed in right. All right, there we go. Now it should fit nicely. Oh yeah, that's gonna look good. All right, I'm going to grab my binder clips. Okay, the pages are together, they're in the right spot. I'm going to grab my binder clips and put the pages in where I want them. I don't have a lot of wiggle room on this. I thought I cut it a bit smaller, but perhaps I didn't. Is it going to show on the outside? Nope, it's not. Okay. And that goes here. All right, now I'm going to move my machine over. I'm going to attempt to, and you are not going to have the greatest view, but here I'll show you what I do. This is a standard straight stitch. It's a 1 on my machine to make the stitch larger. The closer the holes, the easier paper tears. So a lot of times I'll come in with my plus sign and make it a little bit larger. Then I just line it up on my machine and hold it in place, and I sew. And sometimes I'll even put a pencil mark on the seam line so I can line it up with my red line on my machine. I have the stitch set up to sew on that center line. And I will sew it straight down the middle. I usually keep this on my IKEA cart, and then I have a metal magnet, and I hold the scissors that I use just for this onto that, so I automatically reach for that. Okay. And I can untack my pages now. Purple tape is our friend. Now, if I was using thin book page or something like that, there is a chance that the purple tape would tear the paper. But because this is just copy paper, and I think I even have some here. I do. Here, I'll show you. When I'm doing these pages, I don't use regular copy paper and I don't use cardstock. I get this at Walmart. It's 28 pounds, super premium bright. I just think it takes coffee real well. I can use it for labels, and it's not too thick. It's not as thick as regular cardstock. So that's what I get. And I get it at Walmart. I don't remember how much it costs, but it's not very spendy. It's not the least expensive stuff, but it's also not the most expensive stuff. All right, let's see if the darn thing worked. Okay, you can see here is the seam. And I will come in and clip those off later. And I just have to score this with my bone folder, or press it with my bone folder, I should say, to make sure that it's straight. All right, it worked. It stresses me out doing things on camera that I'm not 100% sure are going to work and I don't have all the samples for. And it's not absolutely perfect right here. I'm going to come in with my trimmer, my rotary trimmer, and trim that up a little bit because I didn't have the pages lined up perfectly, but minimal. It's minimal trimming, so I'm going to call that a win. And then the second piece, the matchbook piece. All right, I've got a little bits of scrap paper already sewn together. I just used a zigzag on my machine, and I held them the same way. I laid them together, I paper clipped them like this, and I sewed a zigzag on top. And am I in frame? Yeah, okay, good. Sewed a zigzag on top. And then the way I do it to make the little matchbook is I put the matchbook like so. I want a little bit of a lip right here on the bottom where the matchbook is going to tuck in. So I want a little bit of a lip, and then I'll score it where I want it to, the first fold. Score, and then I'll use my bone folder. I'll come in and ink that top bit later. Okay, and this will go in here like this. Yeah, and then I'll bring, now that I know it's folded over and it's where I want it, I will come in just a little bit below it. Oops. Come in just a little bit below it where you can see the top edges, and I'll score that, and I'll fold it up, and I'll score this down. You don't want the top piece to go all the way to the bottom, because then your matchbook, it won't have anything to hold, and then you can just lift it up like this. You need to have that little bit of space because you are going to, you know what? That is still a little too close. I made it a little closer than it should have been. So I'm going to trim off just a smidge. I should have left a little bit more space, but that's okay because it's an easy fix. I'm just going to come in here and trim off that little bit more because I'm going to put a staple right here to hold this section closed. And I don't want to staple the top of my matchbook. All right. I need a staple to hold it closed, but I don't want the staple, heck, even without the paper in there, I'll do it. I don't want the staple to hit this section. So I'm going to come down low at the bottom. It's holding this piece closed, and my paper pad can come in and out, or my cover to my paper pad can come in and out. Then I'll just come in and glue this piece down right here. Well, I've got double-sided adhesive on it, so I'll put glue and take off the double-sided adhesive. And I only do that because it holds the stitches down nicely, I think. All right, reaching around. Okay, paper trimmer, score, scrap. All right, now I'll come in and put glue on this. And I'll put this almost at the top, but not quite, but I definitely want to make sure it's straight. I don't want it to stick out one side or the other. And in a perfect world, I would hold that and clamp that. This gets tucked underneath here, and then this little edge. And you can decorate the cover however you want. And I would put it right here. And there is our little booklet. It's going to have a tuck spot in the front. It's got pages to journal on. When I glue this down, it's going to have, I just need to trim it a bit, a pocket on the back. You can take it in and out, or you can make this a belly band by gluing it on, and you have a little bit of a notebook on front. There you go. I hope you had fun. I hope it gave you some inspiration to try something that you might already have in your stash, and it'll encourage you to use scraps. Thanks for watching and have a great day.